people, welcome back to the Propagandist channel as we continue on with some RWBY reaction related content and all that. That doesn't make any sense, reaction related, you know what I mean. Anyway, so last video we started off watching a lot of old CRWBY behind the scenes videos that are archived on Internet Archive. So I found a page which has a load of them, about 27 of these videos in total. And we watched the first 9 of them last time, and it became sort of immediately obvious to me doing that there was no way we were going to watch all of those in one video. So we're going to split them, as I said I would. So we'll do the first 9, obviously, you know, last week. We'll now do another 9 of them, episodes 10 through to about sort of 18-ish in this one. And then obviously in the next video, coming next Sunday, we'll do the outstanding 9 and all that. So, obviously all of these different CRWBY behind the scenes videos, you know, they've been taking us through different aspects of the production of the show. You know, last time we had obviously things like the lighting of characters, we had things like dialogue recording, we had all kinds of stuff just, you know, around sort of giving the audience a sense of, you know, what really goes into the production of a show like this. And, you know, it really did start to give quite a good impression or a good overview of just how much effort does actually have to go into this, because of course, you know, it's not just a matter of you know, making the character models, then putting them into an animation software and just recording them moving around. It's all the sort of other elements. It's the layering, it's doing the lighting, it's then having to sort of, you know, record all your dialogue first and then try and match up the animations to the dialogue itself. It's all the other stuff around it that then goes into things like the sound design, etc, etc. So there's a lot of different elements to this production, and, you know, I think obviously many of us could have guessed that, but actually watching these videos really sort of gives you a more specific sense of what all of these steps actually are. So I imagine, you know, that these next 9 are going to continue in that vein. Now, if I just look on the Internet Archive page at what we've actually got, what we're expecting this time. So the first one is called the 1-2 punch, which I'm going to assume is to do with sort of the choreographing, for want of a better word, for the fight sequences, maybe. We've got one called Drawing Inspiration, then the Pen and the Sword, which might be about, I don't know, potentially concept art, something like that, storyboarding maybe. No technical difficulties, then Fanfare, then Among the Crowds, the Magic of Character Creation, then we've got a couple called Art of the Gods and A Touch of Evil. So sounds like it's going to be quite interesting, and maybe some of this is going to touch a bit more on story writing potentially as well, which yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to. So another set of little behind the scenes moments. Now, I don't think there's really much else for me to say at this stage in terms of you know, anything to particularly expect in this video or from these videos that we're reacting to. So let's just get to it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. So we're about to do the 1-2 punch first to start us off and all that. Now, I did just make an initial attempt at recording a moment ago. We got about 30 seconds into this video before Internet Archive stopped buffering. So unfortunately, Internet Archive may be having one of its days where it's running a bit slowly. Hopefully, though, I've managed to fix it, but we'll see. Basically, oh God, I hope these videos are not going to be very stop-start, as basically, I just hope that Internet Archive functions properly. We've had this before, though, where this website can be a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes, because sometimes it has days where it runs fairly smoothly, like it did last week. Then it just has other days where I guess maybe its server is running slower than usual, and as a result, you know, you're trying to watch a video and it just is constantly stop-start every so often. But okay, right, the old 1-2 punch, 3, 2, 1, start. So is this all about fight sequences then? Oh yeah, it is. Oh well, that probably came up when I did my initial recording attempt a moment ago and I didn't notice.
A beast of their own. Typically, for a talking head scene, you'll have like between 1 to maybe 4 animators on a scene, and, you know, usually that'll take about a week's worth of work depending on how long it is. For a fight, depending on the length of it, we usually have anywhere between 3, sometimes even 5 animators working 4 to 6
motion capture
fight, because unlike...
Yeah, I'll take a quick pause just for a moment and say, yeah, I'm not surprised. Motion capture obviously it probably does assist greatly in this kind of animation, actually having someone, you know, act out the movements of the characters and all that, because otherwise you're sort of, well, you have to actually animate things from scratch, I would guess, in your animation software, moving all the bones of the characters around to try and create sort of like a, I don't know, like a pre-made cycle, animation cycle and all that, if that makes sense. So mocap probably just assists greatly with that. And I would imagine that as RWBY became fairly successful as its volumes went by, they probably, well, Rooster Teeth that is, probably had more and more money to actually spend on mocap, because I would imagine that, oh god, I just sort of guessed then, but I would imagine that mocap as a technique probably isn't very cheap to do, because obviously you have to pay someone, and you probably need all kinds of specialist software to be able to do it. Okay, 3, 2, 1, resume.
Talking head scene. There's a lot
Come on,
back
Internet
and forth
Archive, can you
between all
please
the different
buffer?
departments to get the
It's
final
not fucking
look at
buffering.
For fight animation, the first thing we do is we get
Oh, no,
the
wait.
animatics. From
Okay, it is
there,
buffering.
We start planning out on
Just
how
very
we want to
slowly.
tackle each part of the fight. So it's not just, you know, fully mocap or hand-keyed animation. It's
Hand-keyed.
planning out, okay, what can I use for...
So hand-keyed animation, I guess, is what I was just referring to a moment ago. The idea of, you know, you put the character model in the software and then you individually move each bone of their body around, or each part of their, you know, their character model around to get it what you want it to be. So that's the term probably that I was looking for there, you know what I mean? So obviously it's a mix of those two things, mocap and hand-keyed animation, rather than strictly one or the other. So yeah, I mean, definitely though, if you watch those earlier RWBY volumes, particularly volume 1, there are occasions in that, probably that I pointed out during my retrospective, where it felt like there were certain maybe preset animation cycles, perhaps in the animation software, that they did use, particularly for, you know, generic running, things like that. For example, when all the characters were running to their first class at Beacon, you remember that scene? And you watch the way they run, they all seem to run in the same way, moving in the same way. So it's probably like a preset animation, something like that. 3, 2, 1, resume.
From the extensive library that we have. What can I motion capture on my own? Will I need someone else to, you know, go through the motions with me?
The Chapter 10 fight is huge. You have a lot of parts to it. Blake and Ilya going all out against each other. The parts where Ilya is starting to break a little bit and can't really fight with Blake. And it was really interesting too, because it's also the first time where you're really seeing Gira and Corsic and Fennec fighting, so it was about figuring out what their fighting style is, how they use their weapons. It's been
So
really
we're still
fun
on volume
just to
5.
plan for it and to try to get something that, you know, is cool, makes sense, and it's also not too overwhelming, because we still have a lot more stuff in the season that's going to be happening.
So today I'm going to be talking about my process.
You know, we just had obviously a whole fight sequence in volume 5 where they're in the Belladonna mansion and it's burning down around them. You know, in real life, you would not be able to have a fight sequence in a burning building, because the amount of smoke in the air would pretty much kill you quite quickly, because, you know, smoke inhalation and all that. But obviously, you know, there's a bit of creative liberty there in a show like this. 3, 2, 1, resume.
Of how I did the Sun versus Ilya gunchuck sequence. So my first step that I did was I just blocked out Sun's basic actions, trying to make sure that they all flowed and worked together. I also put in a basic camera in there as well, making sure that his actions kind of flowed between shots and everything was working out.
By all accounts,
nicely.
the
And once I was
gunchucks
happy with what Sun was doing,
that Sun
nothing
has
polished yet.
are one of the worst things to animate
Ilya
in this show.
kind of just blocking out her basic actions as well. I changed a few things from, you know, the blocking stage to the final version. She doesn't do, you know, flips in certain spots, and when she gets hit here, it's changed a little bit. Once I was happy with the overall basic actions, I do a polish pass on the two characters. You can see that these are proxy models that we have.
Yeah, at least
here.
Internet Archive seems to be buffering properly now.
The brown one
It
is
hasn't
Ilya.
paused again.
And they're just going through their actions. I'm happy with everything that's happening in here. The swords are contacting properly. The weight feels good. You know, there's slow-mo. I've polished my camera. And once I'm happy with all the basic actions, I put the real models into Maya. So here I have Ilya's final model in here. And I'm working on her hair, making sure that's animated, getting facial expressions, working on the hand poses. any kind of thing that wasn't on the base model. And then once I had Elia, the way I liked her, I also did the same for Sun. So I have his tail animated, the chain on his pants, his shirt.
God, that's like another aspect, yeah. In the previous episode, I think it was, one of these videos, was talking about obviously the character models and all like the little bits of their outfits that technically you'd probably need to animate because they would have real world physics applied to them. So there was one, which was the character, was it? Oh, who was it? There was one character who had like a belt with a pouch. It might have been Coco, possibly, or one of the Team Coffee members. And of course it's like, there's all these little bits of their outfits which, when you think about how that character moves, you've got to also animate those little bits as well so that they don't clip into each other that much. And I never really thought about actually the fact that Sun does have a chain sort of down here by his side. So yeah, that's another little tiny thing. And obviously Ilya has her ponytail that needs animating as well. So yeah, the amount of little bits that can, I suppose as an animator you could end up easily missing if you're not thinking about them. Okay, 3, 2, 1, resume.
Necklace is now moving as well, and he has lots of facial expressions. He's reacting to everything that's happening in the sequence. From here, once I'm happy with the two characters, I start adding 2D effects cards into my scene. So like that hit right there is just a flat plane with a animated card going across it. And we have the final asset for Ilya's weapon in here. There's more effects. I also added some, you can see right here, the bullet casings from Sun's gunshots.
Of course.
And yeah, that's basically the whole process for doing a fight scene.
So the fight in Chapter 10 definitely kind of kicks off, some of these things that are happening for the rest of the season. It's definitely an interesting fight from the perspective that it's this giant climactic battle between Blake and Ilya, and while there's a lot of cool fight stuff in there, there's also a lot of emotional intensity going on. Blake and Ilya have kind of been at odds at each other for about 2 seasons now, and it's kind of cool to see how that kind of comes into fruition. This fight also has a lot of effects that we are trying for the first time. We're burning a building down, and we're shattering balconies, we're freezing swords. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's going on that we haven't really attempted before, and it's really cool to see how it's turning out.
That's probably where that one ends then, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the gunchucks, Sun's weapon, everything I've heard from the production of the show is that they were a pain in the backside to animate because, well, not so much when it's in its melee form, because then it's just basically a staff, but when it goes into gunchuck form, obviously they're all like connected by chains, so you see the way sort of Sun spins them as he's doing his actions and all that. It just looks like an absolute pain to animate because you've got to sort of think of the physics of how, as he's spinning one of them, the rest are attached by chains, so how will they be spinning as well? And so by all accounts, in the early days of RWBY, the producers would, is this true? I mean, this is what I've heard, I don't know how true it is, but they would try to avoid really having Sun use the gunchucks as much as possible and just use his staff, because apparently the amount of animation on the gunchucks themselves when they're spinning around all over the place could sometimes cause the rendering software to crash. Is that true? It's something I've heard before. I don't know how true it is. Maybe people in the comments could let me know. Okay, so that was the first one. That was 1-2 punch. Next one we're going to is drawing inspiration. Now, I put all of these on tabs of their own in the hopes that they'll sort of buffer quietly in the background as we're watching each one, so they're not pausing and all that. Okay, this one's much shorter at 3:26. 3, 2, 1, go. So what's this one? Storyboarding.
Our process
concept art, okay.
Is first we have to have the writers write something. And once we have that, we can get a general idea of direction from the director. And we'll take that and any of his information that he gives us, and we'll do several different iterations of a certain task. For characters, it's usually a bit more, while environments typically don't take as many. From there, we just make a rough, then once we finalize the actual look, we'll do a turnaround, and we'll send it on over to modeling for finishing and actually creating the character in 3D.
The amount of references Carrie gives us depends on what he has in mind. Sometimes he'll have a very good
I saw
idea
that
of what he
booby
wants,
sign,
and he'll
whatever it
list out
was.
some ideas like, oh, I
Hang
want
on.
this character to have what he wants. He'll have on what he
Go back a second.
preferences, carries,
What is this
and
here?
depends on what he has in mind. Sometimes he'll have
Dunno.
a very good idea of what he wants, and he'll list out some ideas like, oh, I want this character to be this high or this tall, and they have this kind of hair. Or some other times it'll be a bit more broad, and he'll give us a lot more freedom to play around.
Usually when I talk to Carrie, it always starts with layout. We ask, like, say, Carrie, what do you imagine like this layout to look like? And he'll do a very terrible drawing on a whiteboard. After that, it's just a lot of back and forth. Technically, there's a lot of different demands between like a fight set and like a set where characters will just be talking. But when it comes to actually designing the environment, those things aren't super considered that much, except space. Like if a fight's supposed to take place somewhere where they want it to be big.
The most difficult thing to concept is usually weapons because they're super involved. We like to keep the old imagery and what we've kept throughout the seasons of transforming weapons. And applying that to a 2D image is a little bit harder because what Monty used to do is he used to take just random pieces and just build it all himself in 3D. So he wouldn't have much of a concept phase. All his concept was done in animation and just pieces that he would take and then transform. Whereas concept, since we have to have this whole pipeline and explain this all the way through, sometimes it's not as fantastical at the beginning. It'll end up looking really cool at the end, but in the beginning of it during concept, it's super like kind of abstract, going like, well, it's going to be this in stage 1, this is stage 2, and then this is stage 3.
Leo's weapon was basically talking to Carrie about what he had in mind. Went back and forth a lot about his fighting style. He mentioned he wanted sort of a revolving shield on his wrist that would emit dust in some way. And we just kind of took it
Just
from
like a
there.
buckler,
A lot of
kind of.
Leo's visuals and his overall outfit influenced the weapon greatly. It has a lot of the same color palettes, motifs, and design elements throughout the weapon.
I think it's an interesting type of weapon, and I love seeing the concept art of it. Though from the scene you just saw then, where it's fighting, obviously it's a curious one because it's all like looks like it takes a second or two to kind of charge up its shot, which obviously leads to a bit of a situation when you're animating it in terms of who he's firing at. In that case, it was Oscar. Oscar's just sort of like stood there. I mean, it's kind of ties in a bit with, I think, sort of some of the wider issues that I personally had with Volume 5. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've said this before in comments to people. Volume 5, I do enjoy it. You know, there's plenty in it that I do like. But as a series as a whole, I personally think it's probably my least favourite of the RWBY, well, of the various RWBY series, because there are some issues with it, because it had some production problems, and, you know, that is reflected. I think it's really sort of epitomised in the final fight sequence of the volume. I mean, people probably know what I mean. There's a lot of little issues with it that people have, and I do think maybe this is one of them where, you know, there's a lot of sort of people, not just in the final fight sequence actually, but in some fight sequences in Volume 5, there's just like instances of people kind of standing around when it really feels like they should be moving and that kind of thing, and then like people splitting off into little fights of their own, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a weird one, and you know, if and when I do a retrospective on Volume 5 where I actually rewatch it, this will probably be something that we talk about in that one. But yeah, you know what I mean. 3, 2, 1, resume.
In general, with
But I do like the
everyone's
concept art.
focused on the characters, like almost 100% of the time. So the environments, I almost don't want them to notice them as much because I want them to just be like immersed in this world that's just colorful and it's pretty, and like you almost don't even think about it because the characters just go in so well.
There's little details we put in everything, and hopefully people catch it. If it don't, then it's whatever. But as long as it reaches towards an ultimate goal of like, oh, that's cool, or oh, I want to cosplay that. Like cosplaying is one of the biggest things that we love seeing.
It's a Corona Coco.
Because we finally get to see this
And a
character in
neon.
real life, and just see the fans like loving the hell out of it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy Volume 5. I still think it's got a lot of good things to it. It's just that there are, you know, some issues here and there. But yeah, whenever I get to eventually doing a retrospective Let's Watch of it, which I am increasingly thinking I probably will do sometime in the distant future, this will be the kind of thing that we pick up on a bit. Alright, next one is the pen and the sword. Is this one about writing? So 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, storyboarding and editing, not writing.
Storyboarding is a really exciting process because nothing has been taken from the words to images yet. And so I get the privilege of interpreting what the writer has written. The beginning of storyboarding a scene, the director and I will get together, sit down with the script, read it through, talk about what images he has in his head, take them and talk about different camera styles, talk about specific angles and depth of field and stuff that he wants to do with the camera, and kind of what the major story beats are. From there, I take the script back to my desk and start sketching out some thumbnails. We do a lot of really small, quick sketches to try and hit all the major beats through the scene and see if we can communicate this in an efficient way using as few drawings as possible. I show that to the director, and then we talk about what's working, what's not. And from there, I'll take those thumbnail drawings and start to clean them up, add a lot of beats in between to give motion and energy to the story. And then from there, I hand the boards off to editorial and they put together in an animatic form.
So the start of our job in editorial is really we get the storyboards, then we get the dialogue, and we go through and cut the animatics, which basically we take the storyboards into Premiere, we lay them out in a timeline, do kind of a timing pass prior to bring the dialogue in, and then we add the dialogue and readjust to match that. And we bring in the sound effects and the music and anything else that's important to conveying what's going on in the scene. And then we export that and we send it out to the team to start watching. Editing with Carrie is interesting. It kind of depends on how much time we have. Sometimes we have to move pretty quickly through these scenes, but in the best case scenario, we get to actually sit down and play around with different ideas about how the scene can be cut. A lot of the options are set before we get started by his work with the storyboard artist. So we come in with a close-up here, a wide shot here, but we can go through and kind of reorder it and say, okay, yeah, originally this was sequenced. It was supposed to start in a wide shot and then move into close-ups and then go into, a POV shot over here. But now that we're looking at it cut together, it actually would feel a little bit better if we ended the scene on the wide shot. So let's just start in the close-up and then, shift that around. Editing, for the most part, is kind of throwing a lot at the wall and seeing what sticks.
I think every storyboard artist brings their own visual experiences and brings those to their work, and so it's kind of what's exciting for a director to work with new storyboard artists. They can get different ideas and things that they just never would have thought of, and that collaboration is what becomes something new and exciting.
The editing is not something that you want to draw a lot of attention to. Really, the goal is for it to kind of blend into the background. You just want it to tell the story as well as you can, and you want the audience to just be so absorbed with what's happening and the story being told that they're not thinking about the craft, and that goes from animation to cameras to editing for the most part. Everything should be focused in and guiding you towards the intent of the show.
Okay, quick one. Not much for me to say, really, to add to what they were saying there, pretty much, but again, just another step in the pipeline, as they put it. So you can appreciate sometimes why these things take quite a long while to produce and all that. Okay, next one up is, which one's this? This is no technical difficulties. 3, 2, 1, go.
Tech basically handles all the pipeline requirements for getting the production from concept to completion. Make sure that the artists can concentrate not on the technical issues, but on their craft, so that viewers get the best experience. We've got 3 basic branches to the team. So we have our hardware for all the computers. We've got the QA department, which includes the pipeline direction, making sure that production goes smoothly. And then we have our software development team, where we create the tools, custom tools used to push the data through the pipe.
Mainly, we program in Python, and we create all kinds of different tools to either speed the artist's workflow up, or we create automation for them. So we have Max and Maya in our pipeline. So Max does our lines. We do all of our rendering in Maya. So we handle the bridge between those 2 packages and handling the complexities with that.
A lot of what I do is kind of focus on what the animators or comp team, lighting team, etc. needs. And then it's up to me to make sure that that's communicated to the rest of the department. Having that kind of expertise, I go, okay, well, animation needs it this way, and programming go, well, that's not as efficient. Why do they need that? And I kind of between that, we find that middle ground. And then day to day, just troubleshooting.
Tech has a broader perspective on the production, so we work with all the different teams, which is quite nice, so we kind of know what's going on at a lot. So there's a lot of communication that actually goes through Tech, and we kind of send that out as well. We have pretty close relationships with almost all the teams, which is fantastic because you get to meet like so many creative people and people with, you know, just a lot of skill.
You're constantly on the lookout for how to help the production be faster or more efficient, or a thing that if we do this, it'll look X amount more beautiful because we have these different shaders that we're examining, or this helps the scene be bigger because we've made it so efficient. Now we can have these expansive sets.
One of the big areas that we worked on was the post department and lighting in specific, making sure that we were able to get a wrap around a new technology called Pencil Plus, which utilizes Max as a renderer, and we're using Maya for our animation. So bringing those two together and having renders that look identical between Max and Maya, but getting align sets out of Max. Over on to Comp, which is past lighting, we have tools that automatically bring the rendered images together and do a quick comp setup for them to reduce the errors and let them get on to the actual creation of their art.
We move the needle forward, but it's also kind of a give and pull. So like the art inspires the tech, but the tech also inspires the art. So that's one thing that I always take great joy into.
There's a great line from The Beginner's Guide by Davey Reedham, which is that, you know, the tools that are available to you are in turn going to shape the art that you produce. You know, it's not just obviously a case of your vision as an artist, it's then thinking about what you have at your disposal to actually try and bring that to life, and therefore what you can and can't do with that. So similar kind of thing here. I mean, yeah, this is probably one of those aspects of the production that is probably the least glamorous, to put it that way, but actually one of the most essential. You know, making sure that you've got that tech team there who can do all of the little sort of work in the background that is necessary to actually aid the creatives in actually realising their vision and all that. 3, 2, 1, resume.
Actually, seeing the final episode and everything, it really kind of inspires the team, and it's like, oh my gosh, that looks so amazing, you know, especially after seeing it like in the early steps, or if we're like debugging a problem or something like that. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, it's the end of that one there. Yeah. And next one we go on to is fanfare. Is it about sound or music or something like that? Let's see. 3, 2, 1, go. Internet Archive, there we go. I thought it was going to be a bit weird then. See cosplays again. Oh, this is about the fans. Okay, yeah.
I've been here since the first RWBY panel, so every year since then I've come, and I've never actually cosplayed. So this year I decided, hey, me and my brother, we should come together and as partners. So we chose Neptune and Sun, and we were like,
it's pretty good looking cosplays. Done well.
The show, I've been watching it. I've always been excited with it. It's just every year it just gets better and better. So that wants me to just cosplay, and plus each character, you feel like you can relate to each one of the characters. Like I relate to Yang, and that's why I like cosplaying as her.
Okay.
I think because it's such a nice show and how they
Petty.
interact with fans, they let characters design costumes for the characters and everything else. I think it really gets in touch with the fans and makes fans really enjoy being a part of RWBY.
From a motivational standpoint, the fans have been...
Some of those cosplays are pretty good.
Irreplaceable.
Well, not some, all of them actually were.
From the moment we put out the Red trailer, we immediately started seeing fan art and speculation, and it's this weird sort of fuel that on a really late night, if you're at the office and you're tired and you're asking yourself, why the hell am I killing myself in order to make this thing? You just have to go to like Reddit or Tumblr or Twitter, and then you go, oh yeah, that's why.
The fans definitely have an influence on the show. A lot of the feedback that they give us throughout the season, we'll then kind of, you know, use that to try and apply to the next season. We definitely listen to everything, trust me, everything. Finding out what people like about the show, finding out what people don't like about the show. I think we get a lot more immediate feedback than most other shows, especially cable. We're going to continue to evolve, you know, further seasons of the show, other shows that we work on. We also make sure, you know, it stays true to what we want to do. But more often than not, we'll, you know, get feedback from the fans and go, yeah, that makes sense, and, you know, just trying to apply that going forward.
Obviously, you know, when we go out to tell a story, we want it to have some sort of impact on people, but the passion and the excitement that people have brought is, it's just ridiculous. You know, we've done contests in the past to see people create, you know, outfit designs for Velvet. Team Indigo was an entirely like fan-created team that worked with myself, Carrie, and Patrick Rodriguez to help come up with character designs and backstories and all that stuff. But even in like little details, like the names of some of the team attacks that Team RWBY uses are based off of ship names, because we just thought that was like adorable and hilarious.
From day one, people were cosplaying and doing fan art and spreading the word about the show, and it means the world to us, and it really is why we're here where we are right now. It's just a bunch of people in a building just trying to make cool things, and because people can tell that we care, and then that makes them care more, I just think it's awesome that people not only care enough about the show, but care about the people working on the show as well, whether it's, you know, Miles and I working on scripts, or animators, or modelers, or anybody. I mean, like, there's a hardcore group of fans that, you know, follow everybody that works on the show, and I think that's awesome. And I think that's something that doesn't really happen in many other places. I think it's really cool.
We never imagined things would get this wild and this crazy, and we're trying to have as much fun as possible, and we hope that you're having fun watching too, whether it be laughing or crying or sitting at the edge of your seat or just dreaming up your own fan fiction or character. Thanks. It's pretty cool.
I appreciate a lot of the cosplays in that one, because I know I've said before how I'd love to do maybe a video or something looking at RWBY cosplays, something like that. And I think, you know, that actually really kind of reinforces my idea, because there were some pretty damn good cosplays that we saw there. I always think cosplay is interesting because people, you know, have one of two approaches to it. Because the thing is, you know, obviously there's approach number one, which some people go for, which is trying to create a very kind of lifelike, very accurate depiction of the character they're trying to cosplay, where they try to get every detail down. But of course, you know, most people can't do that, so that leads to approach number two, which is, you know, don't try to create necessarily a 100% accurate cosplay. Rather, create a cosplay that evokes the spirit of that character, a cosplay that is recognisable as that character without necessarily being identical to them. And, you know, both approaches are obviously very valid, but I think, you know, most people go for the second approach. And I think that's what makes things really interesting. See if you can, you know, are you able to kind of capture the character without necessarily being 100% accurate to their actual design and all that. Okay, next one is, what was it called again? This is Among the Crowds. So is this once again about the fandom? 3, 2, 1, go. Those chibi cutouts.
In season 5 of RWBY, there was a lot of stuff going on, and they wanted to go off of season 5 into season 6 with a really big bang, so to speak.
It's always good to solve a problem. You know, our job is problem solving. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it, you know. So when we solve something and it works and it looks great, that's awesome.
Previously, we had done a lot of work with Gollum, which is a plugin for Maya. And for this season, we had moved over to a software called Houdini.
We could just do so much more. Houdini is just so fast versus Gollum.
Crowds is a big focus that we've been working on because we can sell bigger stories.
Okay, not about the fans, it's about
train stations,
characters.
with battles and things like that coming up, and you just can't really sell that kind of work without a lot of people.
So we are now very much getting on to volume 6 at this point.
One of the things that we do in our lighting aesthetic is we try to keep things lit fairly front on. Like if our camera is here, we usually put the light right about here on a consistent basis so people look very clean, and we avoid lots of like streaking shadows across faces or broad movements of cast shadows on people's bodies.
So right now we're using a distant light. In cases where we have the camera shift over a whole bunch, we want to use a point light because the zones need to be consistent across the entire shot.
In episode 1, we had a really big train sequence.
The train is so massive. It's just rendering it alone was a technical challenge. And in a game, it'd be very easy. You just lock them into place. But with a show like this, it's a lot of technical limitations, or how creative can you be with the software that you have.
The train was such a special vehicle, but the train was an environment inside of an environment. Took a lot of R&D to figure it out, but I think the
Yes.
results look pretty good.
It's really, really cool to actually see it all come together.
We've got a lot more characters than we've dealt with in the past.
I start to read the scripts and I see the animatics. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what's going on with the guy from 2 seasons back, and he comes back in.
As we're reading the screenplays, some people will look to each other and be like, oh my god, this actually happens in this episode? This is going to be crazy.
We got a pretty good mix of some young, fresh people who are just out of school, with some veterans who've got experience doing similar things, and they're all dedicated, and they all want to do their best and make every frame look as good as they can.
And it's definitely cool to come in and get to watch a cartoon every day, and then to be a part of making that feel even more alive. And to be able to do that with like such amazing people, there's just nothing like it.
They're in for
Volume 6 did look so good. It did.
Season. There's going to be a lot of answers to a lot of questions people have had, and it's going to keep on moving.
It gets better and better every year.
I can't wait to just give back to the fans newer and better things and episodes coming up. And that's what you're going to be seeing in episode 1, coming right off the bat.
Well, obviously this was recorded just before Volume 6 was airing, clearly. But, you know, having watched Volume 6 now, I think we can quite confidently say they did do a good job. It worked, you know, because Volume 6, I've said before, probably is one of my favourite RWBY volumes overall, so good job. Okay, right, we've only got 3 more of these now that we have to that we're watching in this episode. Next one is The Magic of Character Creation. 3, 2, 1, go. It's probably about character design again then, and possibly modelling, who
Jin
knows.
is special because she's kind of like this first time we're seeing this magical being
Jin.
in present day RWBY. Not quite something we've seen before. She had like a lot of love and care put into her.
Tell me, what knowledge do you seek?
Episode 2 for Jin brings a lot of history to the world. She is a keeper of knowledge.
She's not obviously like any character that we've seen so far in the entire show. She's literally just something else.
Like most other animation stuff, we start off with what the writers has given us or what the director has given us, the idea, that pure idea of what we knew we were going to have. But yeah, we have a rough start there.
It's pretty exciting to get to design probably one of the most important or influential characters in the series so far. She has different body proportions than we're used to seeing in RWBY. She's very tall, her face is longer, her neck's longer. So a lot of her jewelry is kind of influenced by both the statue we saw in Volume 5, but also the lantern. Like this grate is used on her, like her necklace. The loops from the handle are also on her belt, and her earrings up here. And again, you can see some
consistent design,
on her
yeah.
legs. That's also taken from the lantern.
Obviously, since she's this powerful deity type, all-knowing being, she's always floating. She's always really wispy and feels light. We get to have some of our animators play a lot more with just the constant ambient of like her hair, chains, dress, always moving.
We wanted to make her look ethereal, of course, and like a genie, so surrounding her with smoke, and we wanted to give her a dress. We've put a cone around her, and it emanates smoke to create a formed dress around her waist.
Visual effects in this context, a lot of magical type effects. Basically what we get told is do magic. In this case, in Chapter 2, it was a lot of gin smoke. We take the skirt and we roughen the edges up. And then in the simulation, we add a lot of curl noise, and we take the incoming movement from that skirt and we use that as like our general motion. So then there's like another pass of smoke where it's coming from the actual chains and like her jewelry and stuff as well, and that's the yellow type aura that you kind of see coming from her.
Such an iconic moment in Volume 6,
single department
when we met this character for the first time.
It's cool to always get as many different perspectives on anything that you can as much as possible.
Episodes like this really bring out the creativity in everybody here. We want to make something that gives the fans something to be in awe of, and something that we're very proud of at the end of the day.
I think they did a good job on that. That was a quick one, that was, wasn't it? Well, it was basically just about that. Yeah, Volume 6, man. So many good moments in that volume. Okay, moving on. Next one is Art of the Gods. Okay, take a wild guess who you think this one's going to be about, or what it's going to be about. 3, 2, 1, go.
So this is only episode 3 of the season, and it is an absolutely massive effort. We get to see cultures we haven't seen before, people we haven't seen before.
Chapter 3, we're introduced to the gods. This is where the story really started.
God of Light is styled after more Eastern dragon, like very long and snake-like, but then God of Darkness is very Western styled, big, beefy.
We give the concept to modeling. They'll model it to the needs of the riggers, who then add basically the inner skeleton of the characters.
So I'll go over the transformation for the God of Darkness right now. If you take a look at this video, you'll see that as the dragon walks forward, his horns start to grow, his tail comes out from his human body. There's the God of Darkness rig, which is completely human. There's the God of Darkness transformation rig. It's the in-between phase between human and dragon. And he has extra things such as the wings, spine spikes, muscles that grow as a blend shape. His horn transformation, it kind of feels like it's growing out of his head. His tail was very interesting to rig. I gave animation an attribute to push it in. So by reversing this push-in effect, they could make it come out.
Again, must have taken a lot of work, because you've got to make those rigs.
We have the God of Darkness dragon asset. To get that set up for animation, we have our quadruped auto rig. We place the skeleton, making sure that the bones reflect an accurate position. The God of Light, he's a long boy. There's a lot of controls because he just has a lot of things that need to be.
Nose is a bit itchy all of a sudden.
And this is some animation magic that they put together. Like, we give them these attributes and they are the ones who really bring it to life.
God of Darkness. Oh man. The animator who got to animate him coming out of the sludge, we told him, this is our big reveal. He is creepy, weird. He's like super drooped over. All of his muscles are like pushed super far. His spine is completely curved. He has all these whipping arm motions and head motions. He did a great job.
So you've got the characters.
They did indeed.
You've got rigging to make sure all of that transformation stuff works, environment and modeling to build sets that these characters come with.
We've learned a lot and we've done a lot of new things that have allowed us to really grow as a team.
We got around to answering a whole bunch of questions that fans have been asking for a long time, and now we can just keep barreling forward and start delving into new stuff.
Volume 6 was so good back in the day, it really was. I need to do a ranking video of the volumes at some point, but these actually are kind of helping a bit because they're giving me a lot of reminders of some of the key moments from these volumes. Okay, final one that we're going to watch as part of this recording session, A Touch of Evil. This is going to be about Salem, possibly. 3, 2, 1, go.
3 is just this kind of immense journey across time and space. Chapter 4 is kind of picking up from there and bringing it down to something nice and intimate.
Okay, never mind,
Kind of
not about Salem.
Really big and wide and huge, and then to go back to small, and to focus in on one thing, and what's the fallout with these people.
Professor, what is your plan to defeat Salem?
I don't have one.
It's that slow boil that's been happening where these characters are questioning everything they knew, and now kind of in the muck and trying to figure out where to go, and all of that starts kind of spinning in on itself.
Well, the bad guys that we're picking up for the first time this season, Emerald, Mercury, and Hazel are reporting back to Salem after their own train wreck, which is the Battle of Haven. It's really just about showing the terror that they're experiencing, having to report back to their
Okay, never mind, Salem is in this one.
Savory details about how things went down.
Anytime we can get a shot of just kind of what's going on in the bad guys' world and kind of framing things from their point of view, we kind of get a slight different glimpse into what their goals are.
Emerald, I want you to tell me whose fault this was.
The stiller and more quiet that Salem got, the more you knew danger was coming.
Salem, she's my favorite villain to animate just because she's so low key, but
being low-key kind of makes her absolutely terrifying.
As a writer, it's still fun to watch the episodes. Sometimes the animators take certain things and just run with them, or they take it that extra kind of 25% that really puts it over the top.
We try and really make sure that the eyes express what they need to express. You can play with the pupil shapes and the iris shapes and the little specular glints. You can play with all of that stuff.
This is right after Salem kind of alludes that Cinder is still alive. Until this moment, Emerald thought she was dead and she was distraught. You can see as soon as Salem starts walking away, Emerald's eyes slowly start to widen because she's realizing that Cinder is alive. So just the subtle looking up and then small eye darts along with slowly widening the eyes. I think it has it read even though Emerald's not saying anything yet.
It's about finding the little nuances that are there in the script and just figuring out the best way to enhance those dynamics.
That's been really satisfying to see that develop, how far we've been able to push the emotional core of the show.
Knowing that all of that's there is super exciting for everybody. And knowing that the fans are going to be really excited about it as it continues to drop week to week, it's an amazing feeling.
Well, we're only partway into Volume 6 here with these behind the scenes. God, it was such a good volume though, it really was. Okay, well, that's the 9 that we're going to watch as part of this reaction, so it's giving us quite an overview of sort of the late stages of production of Volume 5 going into the early stages of Volume 6. Let's take a jump cut here and have our post-reaction discussion. Gosh, we're only, well, I thought that was about sort of 40-something minutes in total that was. It's just gone sort of 10:30 in the morning here as when I record this, and already I feel like I'm starting to boil alive in my study. It's getting very, very warm and all that. I have to put the fan on in a little bit and all. But yeah, okay, so once again, I mean, it gives us a real window into the production of a show like this and the amount of stuff that's to go in the background. So now, we've learned about things like mocap and storyboarding, concept art, all kinds of stuff, which, is part of that pipeline. And no wonder productions like this take so long, or take as long as they do rather, to actually create, because they've got to go through all these stages. You've got to have storyboarding and the concept art fairly early on, so that then you can pass that on to your animators so they know what it is that, roughly speaking, they're intended to produce and all that. And at the same time, you've got to have the dialogue recorded fairly early, so that way, you can give something to the animators to work with, so that they know, okay, not only are we trying to create this kind of scene with this kind of layout and these characters involved, but also we need to make sure that those characters, when they're speaking and acting, they're doing so in time with certain dialogue or something like that. So obviously then, is there a new character in the scene? Therefore, do you need to go to the character modelling department to get them to, make this character? So again, that comes back to things like the concept art. You've got to have that in place so that then the character modelers have something to work with. And then, of course, once you've got the basic animation, you've got to layer it all, you've got to do the lighting, you've got to do post-production effects, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot that, really kind of goes into that. And this, series is really giving me more and more of an appreciation for the different stages of producing an animation such as RWBY. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else for me to say in that regard. Now, of course, we've moved on from the Volume 5 now, the Volume 5 stuff now into the Volume 6 behind-the-scenes stuff, and yeah, so this is getting interesting because, of course, Volume 6 is so iconic because of the amount of stuff that happened in it, particularly, really big stuff. So let's say it was interesting to sort of go from the really big stuff of, Episode 3 of Volume 6, where you had the big reveals, all of that exposition, all of that backstory coming out, to then sort of zoom back down in Episode 4 to Team RWBY and company, that kind of thing. But God, yeah, I mean, more than anything, this is really illustrating that I do absolutely need to do another retrospective Let's Watch, this time of Volumes 5 through 9, to sort of remind myself of stuff that happened in those volumes. But, like I say, that's probably not going to come for quite a while on this channel, because, I want to get through a lot of this RWBY-related content first that people have suggested to me that I can react to at various times. So, real good stuff in that one. Sorry, I'm brushing my hair constantly with my hand because again, you know, it being really hot in this study, all of a sudden I'm starting to sweat a bit, and yeah. I'll not talk about that too much though. Yeah, so that leaves us with 9 other behind the scenes videos still to watch, which we'll do obviously next, you know, next week and all that. Now, I'm recording this on the last day of July. Obviously, by the time this video goes out, it'll be probably just after mid-August, somewhere, or possibly even get into late August, sometime around there. So yeah, this has been recorded technically almost a month before it goes out on the channel. But of course, you know, I'm having to block record stuff for the channel at the moment because, you know, it being the last day of July, very soon I'm probably going to be going away from my apartment for a couple of weeks just to visit friends and family. So I do need to block record this stuff to make sure it's in place. Because obviously there's going to be a couple of weeks where I'm away and therefore not able to record. And plus, you know, I kind of want this video recorded so that when I get back I've at least got a little bit of content to keep going on the channel that's pre-recorded, so that way I'm not having to scramble to re-record or to record new stuff and all that. But yeah, you know, hopefully you're sort of enjoying these little behind the scenes episodes and all that. I certainly am. And the thing is, you know, so far I've only made a small dent in the list of content that people have recommended that I should react to and all that. So, you know, this series of reacting to RWBY-related content is going to be quite a long one, I do think. There's going to be a lot of stuff for us to look at. And granted, you know, some of these videos are only short, but there's just so many of them to get through. And, you know, people are always recommending other stuff for me to react to all the time. You know, obviously, a lot of what I'm reacting to at the moment, I think, was recommended by one of you viewers out there. I think your username was The Hunter. And this is obviously stuff that's meant to be more of like, you know, maybe sort of really positive stuff. I've even had recommendations to do some of the more critical video essays out there, stuff that's a bit more critical of RWBY, which might be quite interesting to get into. So, you know, absolutely, that might be something I do a reaction to. That might be quite interesting to see as a RWBY fan, you know, to what extent do I agree with some of the stuff that the critics of RWBY come out with. But, you know, it's all about sort of getting that balanced view of RWBY, which I think might be quite interesting. So, yeah, I don't think there's much else for me to say in this post-reaction discussion. I know sometimes with these videos my post-reaction discussion isn't maybe as long as it is when I was doing the retrospective Let's Watch, but, you know, I mean, having said that, I think partly because obviously I pause quite frequently when I'm doing the reaction and I say certain things, so it's kind of like I end up saying things which normally I would leave to this stage, but then I end up saying them during the reaction, and therefore there's no real point to me necessarily repeating them here and all that, but yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, well, you know, tell you what, well, I think we'll wrap up there, ladies and gentlemen, because I actually want to do some other reaction content for my Strategist channel this morning if I can, so I want to just make sure I've got a bit of time to do that. So, yeah, hope you enjoyed, and hope you'll stick around for next week where we'll wrap up this Internet Archive page of old CRWBY behind the scenes videos and all that. So, a bit more to look forward to just yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So, as just mentioned, obviously Propagandist is my second channel. My main channel is John Philip Strategist, where I do gaming content, that kind of thing. So if there's anything, you know, in gaming that you're interested in, there may be something over on that channel that takes your fancy. Other than that, I'll wrap up here. You know, do leave a like if you enjoyed, it's always appreciated. And other than that, I'll see you next time, next week, when, which actually I probably won't get recording until late in August and all that, once I'm actually back from my little summer leave back up in the north of England. Other than that, yeah, I'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you'll join me, and I'll say goodbye, everybody.